From Daytona International Speedway, the world's center of racing, American Sports Cavalcade proudly presents the 25th running of the Daytona Supercross by Honda. Today featuring the high-flying aerobatics of the 250cc class. The 1995 AMA Supercross season so far can be described in just 2 words: Jeremy McGrath. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Evans and welcome to the birthplace of Supercross, Daytona International Speedway. Jeremy McGrath has won 5 of the first 6 races, but the knock on him is he can't win Daytona. Too tough a track. He can't win outdoors anywhere. Doesn't have the endurance. This track has always favored the Ironmen. Mike Kudrowski, who's won the last 2 years working on the hat trick. Before him, Jeff Stanton 4 in a row. Well, Stanton has now retired, is functioning as an advisor to Honda. Jeremy rides a Honda. Maybe that's why I saw a leaner, meaner McGrath earlier today.
Last year I came in kind of content to get 3rd, 4th, and this year I'm not content with that. I'm here to win.
Jeff Stanton has had something to do with that.
Well, he's giving us some tips as much as he can. He's kind of the team coach, kind of all-around guy, and you know, other than Jeff, I've had a trainer for the past 3-4 months, Gary Stemix, and we've been working hard to get in shape for this race and the Nationals also.
If anyone knows how to mold a Daytona winner, it would be Jeff Stanton, who was unbeatable here, winning 4 straight Supercross races from 1989 to 1992.
Jeremy and I have adapted well. We get along well. We work together well. He asked me some things about the track today and on how to approach some things, and is very responsive and getting information from me, and it's good to see. A guy like that could kind of put himself in a nutshell and think he's great, but he's open and willing for any suggestions.
Should be interesting to watch, the new Jeremy. I mentioned that he has won 5 out of 6 races. Well, who's the Lone Ranger that won the other one and is favored here today to place in the top 3 or 4? Well, Ralph Shaheen is with him.
That's right, Steve, and the weapon he used to stop McGrath was this big green Kawasaki KX250. The rider's name is Mike LaRocco, of course. Mike, what was it? Was it you? Was it the bike? How did you stop McGrath?
I think a little bit of both. We've been kind of fiddling around trying to get something to work. After the first 5 races, they didn't go like we liked. So we changed things around. I started feeling a little better, and things are starting to come together now.
Now that we come to Daytona, McGrath is not known to do real well here. Does this mean that you get to stop him 2 in a row now?
Yeah, I would hope so. Atlanta went well for me, and Gainesville would have. And this week here too, hopefully I was trying to get some momentum going, back into the regular Supercrosses. So, I feel real good out here today, and hopefully, I can get 2 Supercrosses done.
As you know, Steve, Daytona is the toughest racetrack on the entire Supercross schedule, and Mike LaRocco, not only does he have a good bike, he's got a pretty physically fit body to battle here at Daytona.
And a ton of confidence. It's time for heat number 1. This is Larry Ward, bike number 11 from Florence, South Carolina. That's a Yamaha. And Ralph Shaheen next to him, a guy worth watching. That's number 4, Doug Henry on the red Honda.
Doug Henry, one of the best up-and-comers in the series, Steve. A lot of people peg him to be one of the tough guys in the future. Maybe take over for people like Stanton and so forth on that Honda crew.
And here's a rider for the younger fans, Ezra Lusk, number 24 in the Suzuki. We saw him win the 125 here at Daytona. Last year, that was his stepping stone directly into the major league.
Todd DeHoops, another one of the Honda riders out of Michigan. Right now, Steve, he sits 15th in the 250 season point standings.
From the Gold Country of Northern California comes Honda rider Steve Lamson, number 5. And earlier, Ralph had a chance to talk to Lamson about riding a big course.
Hear a lot of guys talking about making your body a spring when you're riding here at Daytona, trying to find a rhythm in an unrhythm racetrack. Can you explain that?
Yeah, you got to, for this track, it's so rough and long, and it's got a lot of jumps in it, so it takes a lot out of your body, so you got to just be out there and ride smooth and just flow with the bike. If you fight the bike, you're just going to get tired and you're going to get worn out so quick. So it's getting a good rhythm and, staying smooth and relaxed with the bike is going to be the key thing.
We should explain to new viewers that Daytona is unlike any other Supercross course. Most of them are in major stadiums, Anaheim Stadium, Atlanta Stadium in Charlotte, and they're much shorter, require a lot of agility and quickness, but maybe not the endurance of Daytona, which is located, as you can see, right next to the airport here in the most famous beach in the world.
The reason why this racetrack is so long, Steve, is because they stretch it out through the tri-oval section. All the folks sit in the grandstands there to try to make the course as long as they can. It's just about a mile in length, which is very similar to an outdoor national motocross.
The gate falls. Remember, it's 8 laps, 5. Go directly to the main. If you don't make the main on this shot, you'll have another one, but you'll be pretty beat up.
Oh, Ross Johnston is down, and the Honda, the 613 rider, watch at the back of the pack here. You'll see him get sideways, and he just laid it down.
Completely sideways. There is nothing more important in the sport of Supercross than the start. As you can see, a lot of riders are tangled up, and that is probably going to prevent any of them from making the transfers.
There you see Steve Lamson and Larry Ward out front. Lamson on the 5, the red Honda. Larry Ward on the big white Yamaha trying to give chase.
And already you can see how diabolical this course is, designed by Gary Bailey, the professor of motocross. It's got a little bit of everything, including a combination of soils. There's sand, there's decomposed granite. Pretty soon there'll probably be some mud. It's got a little bit of everything.
And there's some Georgia red clay in there as well, as Larry Ward takes the lead from Steve Lamson. You see Ezra Lusk is in the battle as well, the number 24, the Suzuki. There you see him, the yellow machine, and that's Doug Henry on that red Honda, number 4. Behind him, and Ezra now gets around Lamson, and Lusk is flying, Steve.
Absolutely. Looks just as good on the bigger 250 machine as he did last year on the 125.
A former 125 Eastern Regional National Champion. You saw his foot come off the pegs there for a second. You'll see that. If this is the first time you've ever seen a Supercross, you'll see that all the time. These guys will be moving around those motorcycles like crazy. The bodies come flying off, and it's just their natural balance that allows them to pull it back on. Ward, Lusk, Lamson, Henry, and Clowers, your top 5 as we're just half a lap into the first heat at Daytona.
Over wheel cleaner.
Welcome back to Daytona, heat number 1 of 250 Supercross action. Ezra Lusk, number 24, has fallen back. Doug Henry and Steve Lamson now battle for second place. Let's take a look in real time how that happened, Ralph.
Well, they just got through that whoop section there a lot better than Ezra did. He took the inside line. They carried the speed around the outside of the berm, and they both got around him, bookends around him on the Hondas, and they're back up in front of him now, battling for second and third. Doug Henry in front of Steve Lamson, and neither one of them able to catch Larry Ward yet on his Yamaha.
The fight for the all-important 5th position is between 87 Tommy Clowers, 25 Todd DeHoop, 29 Cliff Palmer, and 466 Brian Manley, all not wanting to run the Consi.
That's a pretty tight. Wow, look at Lamson catch the air over that triple jump there. Now, Lamson, Steve, is not the flashiest jumper on the circuit. That, of course, would be Jeremy McGrath. But Lamson is one of the best technical jumpers on the tour.
And you heard the roar from the crowd in the background. But I'll tell you, if you try to make the triple and don't, it hurts.
Big time.
Here's number 5. That is Steve Lamson. He's chasing Doug Henry for that second spot. Honda mounted.
It's all control with the throttle and your body position on these motorcycles and how you get over it. If you listen to the riders when they work through the whoop sections, especially as you take a look at your leader, Larry Ward, you'll hear them working that throttle as they bounce their way over the whoop sections. They call it flying through the whoops. You're not actually going through them. You're trying to go over the top of them.
And you're trying to keep the rear wheel on the ground, driving as much as you can, unless, of course, you're trying to shortcut a couple of those jumps. Look at the punishment. The motorcycle has a lot of suspension fore and aft, but the big suspension is the elbows and knees of the rider himself.
That's it. I'm talking to Jeff Stanton about it earlier. He said that what you want to do is make your body another spring on that motorcycle, just another shock absorber, and you try to find a rhythm in a non-rhythm racetrack. There is no rhythm to a Supercross track because it changes every second. Somebody digs another rut that you didn't expect to see in that particular section of the course and wasn't there the last time you came through.
Doug Henry, a gorgeous jump, closing in on Larry Ward. He's going to make a race out of that. Even though it's only a heat race, he could lay back and try to practice his lines because he knows he's going to transfer, but it looks like he wants to put on a show.
Well, where you finish decides where you will gate the main, so that will help tremendously if he can get up there and win this heat. Plus, it's a big emotional boost. Here's that battle for 5th we were talking about earlier. Cliff Palmer on the 29 and the 87 of Tommy Clowers. Look at those motorcycles bounce over the tops of those jumps as they work their way through the rhythm section.
And you make the slightest mistake, it's like losing the draft in NASCAR. You can fall back 6 places.
Very quickly. There's the move right there. We could even have another move. It looks like the 29 machine of Cliff Palmer, and then that quickly goes his way, and Tommy Clowers flies by. you can see how quickly they can change back and forth. As you said, Steve, you get a little off on a line, and things change dramatically.
Well, there's a huge incentive for Tommy Clowers on that 87 bike to finish at least 5th. It means he can go back to his truck, he can relax, the mechanics will have plenty of time to prepare the motorcycle. If he's 6th or better, well, the mechanics won't have much time. He'll get not a lot of rest before coming out and trying to do it in the semifinal.
There's Larry Ward, and you can see Doug Henry still closing in on him. One of the things about Doug Henry, he's got great concentration. He's able to really think about what the task is at hand and do something with it. So right now, he's a very focused rider on Larry Ward, and you can see it's paying off.
And, of course, the Yamaha fans, they're pulling for Larry Ward. The Honda owners, well, they're riding with Doug Henry.
Larry Ward won the Seattle Supercross a few years back. He's been around the series for quite a long time, even though he's only about 24 years of age. He truly is a veteran, but he's got a lot more experience than some of the younger riders. There you see Todd DeHoop on the 25. Pretty looking jump, but it cost him a position. The 29 is Palmer. He's still going at it. And, of course, Tommy Clowers. These three really having a battle, Steve.
And Clowers in serious jeopardy of losing that 5th and final transfer spot. Look at this. Todd DeHoop, 25, 29. Cliff Palmer, both get past Tommy Clowers for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Clowers back now in that 7th spot. He's got a lot of work to do. There's our leader, Larry Ward, just kind of playing with that bike. And whoa, Tommy Clowers is down. And in no hurry to restart. He knows he can't finish in the top 5, and he's going to go to the semis.
There's no way. Yep, he is out of this one for now, and he'll have to take that brother's Honda back to the pit area. Get ready for the semi coming up later, see if he can't transfer through that. Meanwhile, Larry Ward, Sizzler No Lean Yamaha, having a great time up front here today. He's been really rejuvenated this year. He's really run strong throughout the first few races of the season, and you can see it here this afternoon. He's making the statement, and that's one of the things that all the riders want to do today.
29, Cliff Palmer holding down that 5th spot just ahead of Todd DeHoop and 466 Brian Manley. Now, Larry Ward out front, he has a real luxury here. He can study this racetrack. He can try different lines through different corners and try to get himself mentally and physically ready for the main event. If Doug Henry comes up upon him, well, he'll stand on the gas a little harder.
Manley trying to make a run here at Todd DeHoop, but I don't think he's got enough to catch Todd right now. It looks like Todd's tired out a little bit, but I think he's still going to hold on to that position even though it's not a transfer. And look at Larry Ward, Steve. He is so smooth. He seems very confident today. I don't think I've seen him ride this well in years.
And he makes the motorcycle, the Yamaha, appear as if it was filled with helium instead of weighing a couple of 100 pounds. Just incredible.
It's just floating over the bumps, isn't it? He's a very tall, lanky rider. The way he's riding it today, you would think he's as small as Jeff Ward.
Well, height is not a disadvantage necessarily in motocross. Go back over the years to Mike Too Tall, Bell. There have been a lot of guys who, well, I mean, all of them. Jeff Stanton is fairly tall. So it's not a huge disadvantage. You could be 6 feet and still a champion in this sport.
That's true. It's just, I guess, you tend to think at times that a taller, lankier rider doesn't look as fluid on a motorcycle sometimes. But Larry Ward really looks like he is a part of this machine here today.
He does indeed, and right now he's coming up on some lap traffic. In fact, number 87, Tommy Clowers, who was in 5th and is now falling back to last. Mike Jones there on the 62 bike, Jeff DeMed on the 77 bike, are the only riders really between he and the checkered flag as we conclude, or about to conclude this first heat race.
The one thing you want to do is make a statement early on when you come to Daytona. Daytona is a very mental game, as Larry Ward wins this one handily, and he has sent the word through the garage area that he's ready for the main.
Heat number 1 is over. Larry Ward will want it on the Yamaha, Doug Henry second on the Honda, followed by Lamson, Ezra Lusk, and Cliff Palmer. Ralph Shaheen as the winner.
Well, you know, you've really been rejuvenated this year. What's going on?
I just feel good. We got that no-lean Sizzler Yamaha working extremely well, and I feel really comfortable on it. And, you know, I like riding that thing, so I'm out there every day riding, getting in better shape. And I don't know, it's been a good year so far, and Daytona's a tough race, and I want to show everybody that I am still tough, and I'm still in this battle for the championship.
You really exploded off that gate. What'd you do?
I don't know. Steve Lanson got there first, and I just was real cautious around the first turn because it's a little bit tight, and I didn't want to go down. And once I got in the clear, I just got by everybody and rode a steady race, and I didn't worry about anybody else. I just pulled away.
Steve, Larry Ward has made a statement here winning his heat.
Hey, got my attention. Heat number 2 approaching the gate. A couple of riders to watch. Number 2, Mike LaRocco. He's on the Kawasaki. And for years, this has been a Kawasaki kind of a racetrack. There's number 12, Damon Huffman on a Suzuki. And next to him is number 6, Jeff Emick on a Yamaha.
You see some of the tuners back behind the riders. Mike LaRocco's tuner, you saw him standing over his shoulder, is his dad.
The motorcycle's in neutral. The riders flipping the throttles to keep the spark plugs clean. In these 2-stroke motorcycles, they oil in the gasoline. That's the only lubrication really that they have in the cylinders. Now, the start is imminent. They plunk it down into low gear, get up over the handlebars, and concentrate on that gate in front of them. Some contact in the middle of the pack. That is David Pengreen, number 41, who is down fairly hard. Let's hope he can get restarted.
It's tough in there, Steve. Everybody. Oh, and Doug Dubach goes down. Looks like he just got out of whack with the rhythm going through the whoop sections, and that cost the Yamaha riders. You see LaRocco out in front here. But, you know, it's tough, Steve, in those first turns because that line of riders is so long and everybody tries to funnel down into a tight corner. Pingree got caught up banging handlebars in there, and it cost him. There's Jeff Emick on the 6 machine. The 14 is John Dowd. He's your leader. LaRocco chases him from second. And the 12 machine right in there with them as well as Damon Huffman on the Suzuki.
And look at LaRocco on the Kawasaki side by side with Dowd. The last 2 years, Mike Kudrowski on a Kawasaki has won Daytona. The Kawasaki's power band seemed very suited to the longer outdoor-style courses. It's got a little more low-end grunt. Always has had over the years.
Kawasaki has their own Supercross test track out in Corona, California, and Kudrowski and LaRocco and the gang have put numerous laps on that racetrack, developing what they think is a pretty good motorcycle, and it's paid off. They've won their fair share of races over the last couple of years, and Daytona has become their place.
Jeff Emick just behind John Dowd. Now Dowd on the 14 bike for second spot. And again, the top 5 critical. The lap distance the same as heat number 1, 8 around, which is a little over 8 miles. Man, I couldn't walk this place 8 miles.
No, it is a real long racetrack. There you see Phil Lawrence on the 42. He's battling with Kyle Lewis, the 15. That is for 5th place.
And Jeff Emick is on a tear right now. Emick right there has passed John Dowd, number 14, for second place. And just behind 42, Phil Lawrence repasses Kyle Lewis to hang on to 5th.
Emick is a real good outdoor 125 national motocross rider. He hasn't won a 250 Supercross yet, Steve, but a lot of people feel it's coming soon. Oh, Dowd cases himself on the second half of that double jump. Gets into the banners and continues on, but he's lost quite a bit of ground here now.
Remember what I said earlier, if you try to make a double or triple and fail, it can hurt and also be costly. He's falling back a bit.
Phil Lawrence on the 42, closing up the challenge on the backside of the 12 machine. That's Damon Huffman on his Suzuki.
And it's Phil Lawrence. He repasses Huffman.
Got him cleanly.
Indeed, he did. And the course holding up amazingly well, considering the punishment of 2 heats and practice for a number of riders. Gary Bailey and his crew have done a great job. They've got individual sprinklers and hoses all around to keep the dust down. They bring out earth movers at intermissions and during our commercials to kind of put some dirt back where it used to be. And, you know, over the years we've been coming here, Ralph, I've never heard a rider complain about a Gary Bailey course. They call it tough. They call it exhausting, but they never call it unfair or unsafe, because Bailey wouldn't do that.
Well, the other thing Gary does is every year he gives them a different racetrack. We've never had 2 Daytona Supercrosses that are exactly the same. And a lot of riders will tell you that at some of the other events, that's a problem. They almost get too boring because they know what's in store for them.
Exactly. And if you came here and the course was easy, that's when you would get the complaints. Because we've heard riders like LaRocco talking about how hard they train just to come to Daytona.
Damon Huffman showing that his training is paying off as the number 12 Suzuki is really applying the pressure to the backside of Phil Lawrence.
He is indeed, and trying to keep his behind down on that seat as much as he can for better traction. If you're up on the peg, well, you have to be sometimes, but if you can get down at all and get a grip, you can just rock it.
Phil Lawrence continues to lead over Damon Huffman and Kyle Lewis as they battle for third at the Daytona Supercross.
We're back at Daytona, and not much has changed. Phil Lawrence, number 42, Damon Huffman, number 12, Kyle Lewis, number 15, have all fought right up to the rear of number 6, Jeff Emig, who is in second place.
This battle is getting to be a pretty good one, Steve, and these riders have got to be getting a little bit tired. We're going to see now which one has the better stamina here today.
You know, I went through the garage area of the pits and talked to a lot of the team managers trying to find something mechanical for our camera to focus on, something revolutionary and new. They said, the 95s are just like the 94s, but wait till 96. Jeff Emig, Yamaha, the Honda, the Yamaha, the Suzuki all have some maybe major engineering surprises for us next year.
I guess if there's anything new, one of the newest things is the paint schemes on the Yamaha. You saw Jeff Emig's bike, the blue and white, has officially become the new factory color for Yamaha. In fact, the Vance & Hines Yamaha road racing team now has switched to the same colors as well.
This course, if anything, is getting harder and harder. They're creating obstacles where none existed before, and especially holes that can be very precarious.
As we mentioned, the stuff with the sand, for example, that makes up a big part of this racetrack, and the red clay that you see there tends to rut up pretty easily. The clay is a little stiffer as you see Damon Huffman sliding inside of Phil Lawrence. Oh, they come together, and Huffman's down.
Huffman was the loser in that tangle. As I said at the top of the show, it's more physical than hockey, and you ain't seen nothing yet.
He seems to be okay. Phil Lawrence continues on. Kyle Lewis runs right behind him still on the number 15.
But Lewis has slipped back a ways from second place. Jeff Emig is pretty solid there.
Kyle Lewis spends a lot of time on the Mickey Thompson Ultracross Tour as well. Does pretty well there. Good run here as well today, Steve. We don't expect him to be as dominant as, say, a Michael Rocco or a Mike Kudrowski or even Jeremy McGrath today, but Kyle Lewis should be a contender.
And let's point out, this is the second of 3 heats. All of them are 8 laps. Then we go directly into a long, grueling main event. Now, all of the best factory riders are split up among these 3 heats. When you get them all to the main, that's when the fireworks can happen.
The other thing is that they add more riders into the field here because it is a bigger, longer racetrack. They can have more riders out on the course at the same time. So that makes things more difficult for you, too, because you're working through more lap traffic and so forth, constantly dealing with other riders.
Here we're looking again at number 42, Phil Lawrence.
There is not a break anywhere on this racetrack. You know, even with an outdoor, we say this is very similar to an outdoor national motocross type of a course, where usually there you can pin the throttle wide open and run across a high-speed section and almost relax a little bit while you're doing that. Here you can't do that. Even though it's a longer course, it's still got constant obstacles for you to deal with.
And very, very hard on the arms especially.
Damon Huffman now is working Craig Decker. That is for 6th. And he's trying to charge his way back up, but he's running out of time, Steve.
He sure is, and only the top 5 will go directly to that main event. You know, a huge crowd here for this Supercross, but at Daytona that holds over 200,000 people, it doesn't look that big. But if you put these people into a stadium, you'd fill some major parts in the country.
Boy, was I ever wrong about Damon Huffman. Look at this. He has caught John Dowd. This is the battle for 5th and the final transfer.
And in just a few more corners, number 14, John Dowd, will get a sign from his pitman saying, get on the gas. Damon Huffman is coming. We can't finish 6th.
Damon lost a little time through that whoop section there. He slipped off the pegs that cost him, and Dowd has once again opened up a bit of a lead over him. Now Damon starts to close back in again. There's Decker on the 27 as he tries to get back up into this.
And there are some nasty ruts now they're starting to encounter. You can come over a jump where there was no rut before. You think you're safe. You get the bike in that rut. And if you can't get out of it smoothly, you're going to go down or lose a lot of time.
Kyle Lewis on the 15. That is your 4th place rider. Here comes Damon Huffman. Now let's see how he gets through this rhythm section. He struggled at the other end of the course. Gets through here a lot better. In fact, he closed up on him there for half a second.
He sure did. Oh, and he goes off the course. Damon Huffman overshoots the corner, just went in too hot.
Got too far up on the berm, went right over the edge of it, and that really hurt. And now Decker closes back in on him.
But, you know, he was smart enough to not try to save it, to not try to make that right turn. He'd have probably got off the motorcycle. Instead, he just took the penalty, went off, came back on the racetrack at the same place.
Boy, he lost a lot of momentum there, though, Steve.
Oh, he sure did. bit. In fact, that's going to ruin his chances for transferring, unless, of course, something happens to John Dowd, and it can. But here's the leader, Mike LaRocco, Kawasaki number 2, a huge lead. In fact, he's lapping riders, including Jeff Hedden on the 370 bike.
La Rocket, as they call him, is the only rider to have won another Supercross this year outside of Jeremy McGrath. He stunned the field in Atlanta, took the win in the Georgia Dome. Mike LaRocco could do it again here.
What makes him so strong?
I prepare every race the same way, and we stay out here in the week, and, during the week and ride in some sand and get used to it again. But really, I do the same things, just, hope that I'm ready, hope that I get a good start.
One thing that helps a lot of these riders get ready for the Daytona Supercross is the weekend before they run the first 250 outdoor national motocross of the year at Gainesville, the Gatorback National Motocross. And I think that helps a lot of these riders get ready for a different type of racetrack than what they've been running early on in the season.
Well, we heard Jeremy McGrath say he used Gainesville as a primer, as a conditioner for this race, and he won there. Third in the first moto and first in the second moto.
Here you see Damon Huffman is caught back up to John Dowd. He just won't quit.
And there's our leader, Mike LaRocco. What a high flyer. Unbelievable the air he gets off of that triple. You would think it was at the start-finish jump, but no, that's not it. What a photo op. There's a lot of still photographers down there, and there is the win for Mike LaRocco here in heat number 2, showing that the Kawasaki, again, will be very tough here at Daytona. Stay with us, everybody. Heat 3 coming up when we return.
Welcome back to American Sports Cavalcade's coverage of the Daytona Supercross by Honda. Heat number 2 is done. La Rocket wins his heat and transfers on to the main event. He'll take Jeff Emick, Phil Lawrence, Kyle Lewis, and boy, what a hard charger, and Damon Huffman along with him. Steve's down in the victory circle area, and he's caught up with Mike LaRocco.
Mike, you have been critical of your own starts, but that was a darn good one. 2 more like that, and you might win your first Daytona.
Yeah, definitely. That kind of start will help, get me away where I can see where I'm going instead of following all the time. So, yeah, I'm going to hope for a good start like that in the main.
You were really flying over the big jump, maybe almost too far, landing flat.
Yeah, the track's really, it's as rough as it is, it's hard to time anything, and you carry a little too much speed because it's bumpy, and it's hard to judge. So, I mean, it was smooth enough where it didn't bother me, but, maybe in the main event I'll find a smoother way.
Thanks. Well, Ralph, that's got to be a real confidence builder for LaRocco.
Absolutely, Steve. I mean, he doesn't even look tired, winded, or sweaty. We've seen a good ride out of Larry Ward as well, and a good ride out of the guy I'm standing with. Well, Jeff, we see you stop your bike out there. What happened?
I was going into whoops there, and I got on the brakes a little hard, I guess, without the clutch in, and I stalled the engine right there in the middle of the whoops.
Just everything got fired up and running okay again then?
Oh, yeah, I put on a charge there at the end and, caught some lappers and stuff, but I feel that I'm going just as fast as anyone, if not faster, and I guess we'll see in the main event. I'm going to try to put this Yamaha right up front.
A solid performance out of Jeff Emick here in heat number 2, but already in the gate is heat number 3.
And I tell you, we may get a preview here. You're looking at number 1, Jeremy McGrath. He has won the first 5 out of 6 races, all in stadiums on tighter courses in this same heat. The man who has won the past 2 Daytonas on the number 7 Kawasaki, Mike Kudrowski. And the fans can't wait for this one, Ralph Shaheen.
There you see Ryan Hughes, one of the youngsters. He's on another one of the Kawasaki's, one of the up-and-comers. And here is a look at Brian Swink. He's on one of the Honda of Troy entries. There's one thing that is different this year about Mike Kudrowski than last year. This year, Brian Lunas is his tuner, a new tuner, the legendary Brian Lunas. If anything, it only makes Kudrowski even stronger.
Jeff Stanton told Jeremy McGrath before he left their pit, win the heat, let them know you're here, intimidate them now, make them go back to their truck saying, oh man, it's going to be one of those kind of days.
Everybody got through there cleanly, Steve.
And a decent start for Jeremy McGrath, Kudrowski.
And Greg Albertine is down. The world champion out of Corona, California is down on a Suzuki. He has not done much Supercross racing, especially here in the States, but it looks like he's going to continue on.
Look at this, Mike Craig, number 19. has taken the lead, followed by number 7, Mike Kudrowski. Where is Jeremy McGrath?
Oh, and Craig is down.
It was almost like he just totally lost his concentration, was worried about Kudrowski behind him. That was unbelievable. What happened?
Well, you don't want to lose concentration in mid-flight.
Well, he apparently did and paid the price. So now it's Kudrowski. And look, right behind him comes McGrath on the Honda.
Not a moment after you mentioned it did he close right up on him. And Ryan Hughes is on the number 9. The other Kawasaki, he runs in 3rd. There is Ryan.
And right now, the words of Jeff Stanton, the leader for the Honda team, the advisor, got to be going through Jerry McGrath's mind. Win it. Beat him.
And is he ever calm, cool, and collected, Steve? When you talk to Jeremy McGrath in the pit area, here he is at the one racetrack that puts all the pressure on him more than anywhere else in the country, and he is as calm as a guy who would have won here 5 times.
And there's a new maturity about him that I notice in his speech, even in his body language. He's just what an amazing young man.
Absolutely, and I think Stanton hit the nail on the head earlier when he said that even though everybody knows that Jeremy is one of the best Supercross racers in the world, if not the best ever, he doesn't let it get to his mind. He still knows he needs to improve to make himself even better, and he's willing to try to learn to win here at Daytona.
He lost a little ground 2 turns ago when he struggled to get the transmission into a lower gear. Even on television, the difference in the styles of McGrath and Kudrowski are fairly obvious. Kudrowski is bigger and stronger, and he rides that way. He manhandles the motorcycle, where McGrath finesses the bike around Daytona here. Earlier, we had a chance to talk to Mike Kudrowski about, well, the rigors of the Daytona track. How hard is it on bike and rider?
You know, the track's really intimidating, and a lot of guys look at it and go, wow, you know, this thing's going to be tough. And I think that's what hurts a lot of guys. And, you know, I look at it, it doesn't really intimidate me. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to beat the track. And, you know, I'm going to race the track and be the king of Daytona.
I think that was fairly well stated, huh?
Absolutely. Motocross kid, they call him, Mike Kudrowski. Jeremy McGrath has been working hard with the trainer the last couple of months, and he has gotten himself in the best shape he says he's ever been in, especially coming into Daytona. So if it's going to pay off for him, we'll find out here today.
You know, I think Kudrowski is smart enough to right now be using this heat to learn the racetrack, to be thinking about the main event. If McGrath can beat him, so be it.
Well, it's not the heat race that pays the big money and you get the big trophy for it. It's the main event, and that's the one Mike wants. Oh, and look at this, Jeremy with an inside line.
I think, again, that was just Kudrowski trying the racetrack. Let's see if this berm shot will work. It didn't. McGrath got around him, and look who battles back instantly. Oh, what a match race. What a beauty.
And you can hear those two working the throttles through that whoop section there.
2 different brands of motorcycles. Riders from different parts of the country, totally different styles on and off the racetrack. Kudrowski styles a little bit in the air. Doesn't have to do that, just likes to.
There's Greg Albertine on the Suzuki. He's worked his way back up to 13th after falling down after the first couple of corners. Tries to pass one of the slower riders in midair. Working his way around the 36, that's Chad Peterson.
I'll tell you what, we thought maybe it was impossible, but the way Albertine is riding, he might get into the top 5.
He could very easily. He is a world champion of outdoor motocrosses. Completely different style than the U.S. Supercross. The one thing that everybody says about Jeremy, why he is so good at Supercross, is that he came out of the bicycle motocross ranks. It's a much more technical, rhythmic type of riding. You see him bobble a little bit there. And that is a lot different than what you do in an outdoor motocross where most of the rest of the riders came from. Example, Mike Kudrowski grew up racing outdoor motocrosses and then had to change his style for Supercross, had to adapt to that. Whereas bicycle motocross is just like Supercross. It's tight, it's compact, rhythmical, and look at the rhythm through the whoops, and Jeremy's your new leader.
And the crowd, as they say, goes wild as Honda-mounted Jeremy McGrath now streaks away from Kudrowski. But I'm going to go back to my earlier comment. I think Kudrowski will not be intimidated by this. Some riders will. But he's going to use this heat for what it was meant to be, for a rider of his caliber to get it all figured out to the main. All right, here are the standings so far in heat number 2. McGrath, Kudrowski, Hughes, Swayze, Gonzalez. Can Jeremy McGrath hang on to win this heat? Stay with us. We'll show you when we come back to Daytona and the Supercross by Honda. We're back at Daytona. That is rider number 32, Pedro Gonzalez. He is in 5th place, the final transfer spot. But here comes the angry little band that wants to take that away from him. In 6th is 38, Scott Sheik. In 7th is 18, Denny Stevenson. And of 111, Greg Albertine, who fell on lap number 1. We counted him out and shouldn't have. He's got a legitimate shot at maybe making the top 5. And he knows, like every rider, the importance of his helmet. Earlier, Ralph Shaheen took a look at some new technology.
One of the busiest buildings at Bike Week is the Orion building, and the reason why is because they supply the majority of the helmets to all the motorcycle racers, and it's located right in the center of the International Speedway. This is their new Motocross A helmet, and it's real popular with all the Supercross riders because of its innovative design to help beat the face plant. The face plant, which a lot of motocross riders are susceptible to, causes bad spinal injuries. This new design has a very flexible rock guard at the front of the helmet. And that helps alleviate a lot of the pressure from hitting the ground face first that goes right down the spine and causes spinal injuries.
A face plant sounds like something out of the WWF. But let's watch Greg Albertine, Ralph Shaheen, number 111. He is putting on a show. That's where the fans are watching now, too.
He is absolutely flying through this racetrack as he gets by Scott Sheik on the 38 machine. Greg is from Johannesburg, South Africa, now calls Corona, California home. He is a 3-time world champion, Steve, but he knows that in order to be a true world champion, you have to be able to win in America, and that's what he's trying to do over here.
I think Pedro Gonzalez, number 32, has got a problem. He's got slow traffic in front of him, James Chamberlain, 170, among others, and that is benefiting Albertine. It is slowing Pedro, and here comes the South African.
Greg has one other thing in his corner, and that is Roger DeCoster, the 5-time world champion, has moved over from Honda to Suzuki to help train Greg Albertine for racing in the U.S., and we know that that is a real benefit. We saw what it did for Jean-Michel Bale.
In just less than 30 years, the U.S. has become the world power in Supercross and motocross. It only came to this country, like I said, in the mid-'60s, and if you didn't have Europeans in your events in America, you couldn't draw a crowd. Now it's just the opposite. Americans learned how to train, and that made the big difference.
The other big difference is that Supercross is truly an American form of motorcycle competition, and the American riders have really mastered it. So for a European rider to come over here to do well in Supercross, again, just like we talked about the U.S. riders that grew up in motocross racing, they have to learn a whole new type of racing. Here's Aaron Kopp. He's going to get passed by the 3-time world champ as he continues to chase down Pedro Gonzalez.
Still more traffic for 111 Greg Albertine in the form of 266 Aaron Kopp. We are on the very last lap here, folks, so he doesn't have a whole lot of time. Oh, look at him turn that bike. That mid-air maneuver had the bike set up to where it landed, it drove.
A lot of people expect Greg Albertine to learn quickly in the early stages of the season. We're only 6 races into 15 Supercross rounds this year. So before we get to the end of the season, Greg Albertine will be much more improved when it comes to Supercross racing.
Pedro Gonzalez again has to contend with traffic. And again, that is allowing Albertine to pick up the pace and move up. Look at this. Albertine goes around 176, and now he only has Pedro between he and that final transfer spot. He's going to make his move. He's setting him up right now. That's Albertine on the 111 bike. The yellow machine, the green leathers. On the inside of Pedro Gonzalez. No.
He's in his grasp, though. It's just a matter of time, I think, here, Steve. He's going to get him.
But he doesn't have a lot of time. This is the last lap. What a performance by Greg Albertine. Talk about tenacity and not giving up. A lot of riders would have said, okay, well, I'll just be in the Consi. Not him. Ooh, this is it. If he gets by 32, we'll see him in the main with Jerry McGrath and the rest. And there is Jerry McGrath almost standing it on end as he takes the checkered flag here at heat number 2. Jeff Stanton and Honda will be proud.
And Albertine did get by Gonzalez, so he will transfer as well, as long as he can hold on through the back half of the racetrack here.
And nobody has to tell him that a bobble here would make all of that hard work nothing, down the drain.
It looks like Pedro Gonzalez is tired out a little bit as well. I don't think he has enough left. They're coming up on the 10 machine of Brian Swink. Brian is currently running in 4th, so Albertine might even move up another spot before he's done.
Even though he doesn't need it, but it's good insurance. Albertine takes 5th position. All right, here are the top 5. Jeremy McGrath on the Honda. Kudrowski picks up 2nd place and learns a lot of knowledge about this course for the main event. Ryan Hughes in 3rd, Brian Swink number 10 in the 4th spot, and Greg Albertine, the ride of the heat. Let's go to Ralph.
Well, you wanted to make a statement, and let me tell you, you did. Are you pleased with that statement?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't get such a great start. I had to pass some guys, and, you know, it was good. I felt really smooth. I think I'm ready for the main.
How pumped up are you right now? Are you at a level pace that you can deal with, or are you flying higher than you have been all year?
Well, last week was definitely the highlight of probably this season for me, and coming into this race with some good confidence. But, you know, each race is a new race, and try and look at it like that.
Come on, man. You sound awful quiet and calm, but I know right now you're sitting in the best position you've ever sat at a Daytona Supercross. You got to be a little fired up about this, getting ready for the main.
Well, that for sure. Daytona's always, you know, eluded my win list, and, you know, I'm here to win. No more 3rds and 2nds and 4ths, none of that.
Next up, main event for Jeremy McGrath. Quiet confidence for the reigning Supercross champ, and a big smile for the 3-time world champ with Steve.
Greg, when you got off it, we thought, oh, no, not the world champion.
Yeah, I had a great start. It was unbelievable. I came into that corner. For some reason, I just lost all strength in my shoulder. Not the one I've had problems with, and I dropped the bike, got up, and it was hurting really bad. And then I just, like, rode slowly, and then it seemed to get all right, and I just carried on racing and finished fifth.
Should have heard this American crowd cheer you when you picked up that 5th and final transfer spot. They were all behind you.
Well, it's great to hear. You know, I'm here for the fans and put on a good show for them, so I'm really glad to hear that they're supporting me.
Get some rest for the main. Ralph?
The main event for the Daytona Supercross by Honda for the 250cc motorcycles coming up next. So stay with us. Main event on its way.
The talking is over here at Daytona. The heat races have been completed. It's now time for the biggest Supercross in America. I'm Steve Evans along with Ralph Shaheen, and Ralph, the heavyweights are at the gate.
Well, here's how they're all lining up. Larry Ward, you see him there. You see Mike Kudrowski going for the 3-peat. And in fact, Steve, he's wearing a brand new pair of pants for the main event here at Daytona with 3-peat written on the back side.
One rider that'll be very interesting to watch here starts in the 14th position. That is Greg Albertine, 1-1-1. We saw him just barely make it out of that heat number 3 with a tremendous ride after going down. You know, in a lot of individual sports, golf, for example, tennis comes to mind, a nobody, an unknown, can leap up and win a major event. That doesn't happen in Supercross.
Not too often, that's for sure. You expected to come out of that top group. Steve Lamson would certainly be one of the contenders here. Jeremy McGrath, Kudrowski, LaRocco. It'll be one of those guys. If there's going to be somebody to sneak in, a Jeff Emmick possibly would be one of them. Greg Albertine, the Johannesburg, South African native, if he is to win a Supercross this year, this one is his best shot.
And for any rider, certainly Jeremy McGrath is not in this category. If you're having a bad year, Daytona can be a season saver. But look what happened on the parade lap. Watch the number 1 Honda of Jeremy McGrath. He fell down on the parade lap. No injury to bike and rider except maybe to his prop.
That was Steve Lamson and Greg Albertine he banged into there. A little trouble getting it started, but he let it back off, and he's ready to go. And here's Doug Henry. Talked a lot about him during his heat race. He's so good at staying focused.
Arm fatigue is a huge problem. Ralph talked to an expert.
Anybody who knows anything about motocross and supercross racing will tell you that this is probably the most demanding, physically tough form of motorsports in the world. Jeff Ward can tell you all about that. This is a guy who used to do triathlons for fun. That's how tough his training program was. A lot of people talk about arm pump in supercross racing. What is that? How does it affect the rider?
Well, it affects the rider in a number of ways. It's usually from probably a lack of riding during the week or just not getting warmed up before you go out. It's what happens is when you're riding and you're using throttle and front brake and clutch and stuff, and the blood comes in the arm a lot quicker than the body can take, and it's kind of familiarized with something. It's like playing a video game when you're tapping something real long and the blood comes in, you can't move your hand as quick, and it just causes problems on moving around the bike and being able to control the throttle and the brake to the best you can. It just makes it real awkward, and the rider doesn't ride fluid.
So stay loose is what Jeff Ward is saying. but that's pretty difficult to do in front of about 40,000 people on national television. This AMA official will unleash the gate, and we have a start. It is rush minute in Daytona.
Oh, McGrath is down.
Jeremy McGrath, the #1 rider, is down. John Dowd, it appeared, had a problem in front of him, and Jeremy had nowhere to go. He's back on the bike. This could make it very interesting. Let's have another look at exactly what happened to the man leading the Supercross points.
Dowd really had a problem. Look at him, Endo right here, and his motorcycle knocks McGrath down. Albertine gets hard on the brakes, slides through, as do the rest of the riders. Both riders are able to get up. Here's another look at it as it comes right into your living room.
This is a terrifying moment for a motocross rider. The rest of the field may use you for traction. Your own bike may attack you.
You see, Jeremy McGrath got hit in the head by Jeff Emmig's knee even. It is a real scary moment in there because there are bikes and bodies flying everywhere.
But Mike Craig has emerged as the leader, just as he did in heat number 3.
The Honda flying over the start-finish jump. Looking strong early on.
And this is another reason why you want a brilliant start. You want to be ahead of that kind of an accident. You don't want to get into somebody else's problems, as Jeremy McGrath did.
You saw Ezra Lusk bobble through the whoops. That opened the door for Doug Henry. He slid by, took over second place. So Lusk now will have to repass him. We saw a great ride out of Ezra here last year in the 125 division. So anything is possible for Ezra Lusk.
Let me tell you what a disaster that was for Jeremy McGrath. The #1 plate, he's up and he's charging, but he's in 21st place, chasing Damon Hoffman on the number 12 and Kyle Lewis on 15. All eyes will be on Jeremy McGrath. But back up front, a tremendous start has put Mike Craig, number 19, out in front here at Daytona. But Doug Henry would really like to make a move now, assert himself early on, get that lead, not be faced with any roost of dirt off of anybody else's back wheel, at least until he got into lap traffic. Look at Doug. Whoa!
And he's got the lead right there, Steve. He uses the outside berm, shoots around, and takes over the lead. If you can get out front and stretch out a lead, things will definitely play into your advantage. Doug Henry is the leader in the Daytona Supercross by Honda. We'll be back with more from the main event at Daytona.
We are back at Daytona. The big story, of course, is Jeremy McGrath falling at the start, is now picking his way up into the positions in the teens. But how about Ezra Lusk, number 24, his first Daytona 250 Supercross. He won the 125 a year ago. This is a whole new league, and the kid looks great.
And he's playing in a tough league right now with Ryan Hughes and Mike Kudrowski on his tail. Back up front here, you see Doug Henry around Mike Craig. We saw that just as we went to the break. There's Ezra Lusk. There's Kudrowski getting around Ryan Hughes now. And the motocross kid is starting to work his way through the field.
Number 9, Ryan Hughes, got hung up in a rut, and that allowed number 7, Mike Kudrowski, defending champion, to take over 4th place. And Kawasaki on the prowl.
Look at Ezra Lusk come around Mike Craig now. He's up to 2nd and challenging for the lead now. Boy, he is really on a tear here today.
He is indeed, and now he's got Mike Craig in front of him before he can take over that 2nd place spot.
Steve, we've seen overcast clouds all afternoon here at Daytona. You've seen a few raindrops on the lens of our cameras. That will only help these riders. It's a bit of a cooler day here at Daytona than we've seen in years past. There you see some of that dark sky. Look at Ezra now for the lead.
Flew by in mid-air. Ezra Lusk, for the first time in his young life, leads at Daytona, but it may be momentary.
Well, he lost a little bit of ground as he came out of the seat over that jump. Lost his balance a little bit, and I thought he was going to slip back into the clutches of Mike Craig. Doug Henry, we talked about how focused he can stay. Right now, he is concentrating on everything that he does with that Honda. He just tries to concentrate on leading, not worrying about the riders behind him. There's John Dowd just in front of him, number 14, about to get past by our leaders and go the lap down after that tumble at the start.
There has been nothing easy about this track all day long, but right now it is at its toughest and roughest, I might add.
John Dow doing a nice job to get out of the way of the leaders. He saw them coming through. Nice move. He knows his Daytona Supercross is over for another year.
So Doug Henry on the Honda number 4, currently out in front of Ezra Lusk. Ezra on the Yamaha. And here, storming up on the green Kawasaki number 7, that is Mike Kudrowski. Makes the move on 19, Mike Craig. He is in 3rd place. Ezra, a few bike lengths in front of him. Whoa! Ezra has caught up some banners. If they get in that rear sprocket, and he's trying to kick them loose, that was a real brave little maneuver. Mid-air there, you get hurt doing that kind of stuff. But Ezra knows if those get wrapped around and start interfering with the rear brake, he's got problems.
Oh, and a big crash here. Michael Craig gets taken out by Ryan Hughes as they were battling to get around Ezra Lusk. And now they keep running into each other. You can see fender pieces knocked off the bikes. Watch this, the 19 and the 9, and Ryan just jumps right into him.
3 abreast just doesn't work at Daytona, be it motorcycles or Winston Cup cars. It's risky.
Well, that's a real tricky section because it's a jump in the turn, so you're almost turning in midair, and Ryan knew he was running out of dirt, and he had to get the bike turned, and he just turned right into Michael Craig.
You know, between the incident at the start and that one, they're giving this thing to Kudrowski.
Now, he's going to have to deal with Doug Henry here first. Doug Henry sits 6th in the points, and there is no doubt that Kudrowski is a better racer here at Daytona than is Doug Henry. But Doug is a young, aggressive rider, and he's a very focused rider. He's not going to give up this real quickly. And Steve, already moving into 3rd, here comes the Rocket, Mike LaRocco.
Did you see Kudrowski square off that corner, get back on the throttle for an immediate drive? And it picked up several bike lengths. Now getting on the inside of Doug Henry.
The one disadvantage Doug Henry has is the knowledge of the Daytona course and its surfaces that Mike Kudrowski has. It really comes down to a matter of time. Kidder will not be overly aggressive. He'll be patient. He knows it's a long race. He'll pick his time and his spot, and he'll get Doug Henry, like right here. Look at that. Right through the whoops. He just flew over the top. Mike Kudrowski is in the lead.
And the Kawasaki may be built for Daytona more than any other course in the Supercross season. This is where it can shine. Witness Kudrowski going for, as you call it, the 3-peat.
And here comes Mike LaRocco now up into 3rd. Can Doug Henry hold off LaRocco?
And can the two fallen heroes save their day? 111 Greg Albertine from South Africa. Number 1 Jeremy McGrath, the American Supercross champion. Whoa, here comes McGrath. Albertine slips a little bit. Gets awfully close to the bales and the banners, and there's the move McGrath wanted to make. I think this Albertine guy is really tough.
Well, he's a 3-time world champion, and he definitely earned all 3 of those titles. He is one of the best when it comes to outdoor racing, and that's basically what we're doing here today. Here's the battle with, oh, and LaRocco has a problem.
He buried the nose in a rut. He got delayed. He doesn't lose position, but he does lose a lot of time to the leader. And now he's got a problem for sure. He stalls the motor, recranks it. Oh, man, this is not a good first 2 laps for Mike LaRocco. The only good news is that despite those problems, he didn't lose a position. He is still in 3rd, only a lap behind around him.
Well, Mike LaRocco continues to chase, but it's Mike Kudrowski out front. Daytona Supercross continues.
We are back at Daytona. Jeremy McGrath, after the fall at the start, currently in 7th place. That doesn't sound all that bad. You got to consider, Ralph Shaheen, that the leaders are way out there.
They are a long ways in front of Jeremy McGrath. I think it's a real sign of the maturity of Jeremy McGrath that he knew he really wanted to win here. He knows his chances of winning right now with Kudrowski and LaRocco so far out in front are basically out the window. He is riding here for points. He definitely wants to retain his title as the #1 Supercross racer in AMA competition. We're seeing a lot of the maturity of Jeremy McGrath working his way through the field.
And a great race between number 11, Larry Ward, and Jeff Emick, number 6, for that 4th spot. In fact, Ward had an excellent chance to pass him, but actually came across Emick's front wheel and had to lift and to get on the brakes.
Yeah, he really locked up the binders and let Jeff Enda continue. As we said, Larry Ward's been at this for a long time, even though he's only 24 years of age. Tremendous amount of experience. He'll be patient. He's riding better than we've seen in the last few years. Larry Ward is going to be a real force in Supercross competition in 1995. See, he waited. Now he sets up the inside move, and it almost worked for him there.
You saw those double rucks. They have to remember that those are there on every circuit of this course. You have to commit it to memory. Look at this, the 11 bike, Larry Ward. Poetry in motion. A cliche, but it fits. His timing on the jumps is exquisite.
Some real formation flying there, wasn't it? Here comes Kidder through the whoops. Look how he works through there. We talked about making the body a spring. Let your body be another shock absorber as he flows by the pit area where all the mechanics, Brian Lunas, his tuner, will hold out the pit board, let him know where the competition is, and Kidder will try to find a pace that works for him, that's comfortable, and he'll try to drive the rest of the competition into the ground today.
All right, let's have a look at the race for the second spot. Mike LaRocco, he's had a lot of obstacles in his way, but he keeps overcoming them. The number 2 bike, Doug Henry, who led for a while, continuing to try to keep pace with LaRocco.
Well, LaRocco has gotten around Henry now for second. 3 things have been factors against Mike LaRocco in his career. 1 or 4 starts, 2 bad mechanical gremlins, and 3 an injury to the wrist. He's had difficulty finding his way through the 3 of them. The starts, nobody seems to be able to figure out what is wrong with Mike LaRocco's starts. Everybody is trying to work on him. Jeff Ward, all the people at Kawasaki have worked with LaRocco. They can't get it figured out. Mike will tell you, he's just a slow starter. It's like a turbo. You got to build up the boost. When he spools up and goes, he's gone.
Well, he's coming up on a very quick rider. That is number 111, Greg Albertine, who is in the 8th position. Now, we talked about these motorcycles a little bit. These are not one-off works machines. These are production bikes. Oh, did you see number 4, Doug Henry? He just about got off that motorcycle. As I was saying, these are really showroom bikes that have been prepared for racing and certainly have a performance tune-up. But they are basically what you'll find on the manufacturer showroom floor for dirt bike riding.
And that's why this class is so important to the manufacturers. The 500 division has pretty much gone away from the outdoor nationals here in the United States. 250 motocross and 250 supercross is the #1 manufacturer concern when it comes to motocross racing in the United States.
Mike Kudrowski has been the leader since lap number 5. He got a good start, not a great start, but he avoided the pitfalls of Jeremy McGrath and the rest of the riders that had some awful problems in that traffic jam at the first turn.
Kudrowski finished 3rd in the points in 94. LaRocco was 2nd in the points in 94. Both of them finishing behind, of course, Jeremy McGrath. They're looking to reverse that this year. LaRocco winning at the last race at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Kudrowski looking for his best shot to win here. Right now in the points, LaRocco is 2nd, Larry Ward sits 3rd, and Kudrowski sits in 4th. So if Mike can win here, this will help Kidder's chances of upsetting this man, Jeremy McGrath, for the title in 95.
McGrath came in so well conditioned with such a focused attitude, with Jeff Stanton kind of leading the way for him. He went out and won that first heat. That was all important. And to have his hopes shattered through no fault of his own doesn't seem to have him that discouraged. There's the white flag. 1 more lap for our leader, Mike Kudrowski. Jeremy could have easily said, oh, man, I'm so disappointed. I'm going to do it. That's just not in his nature.
I think Jeremy McGrath is without a doubt one of the greatest supercross racers we've ever seen. We've seen Bob Hurricane Hanna, Johnny O'Mara, Jeff Ward, Jeff Stanton, RJ. They were all tremendous. Jeremy McGrath has moved this up to another level. In talking to some of the racers like Kudrowski said beating Jeff Stanton came down to conditioning and training. He knew he was as equal as Stanton when it came to talent. He knew he just had to train more. Beating McGrath is a whole other story. It comes down to strictly talent. And everybody says that McGrath is the most talented they've ever seen, except for when there's a hay bale in his way.
Mike Kudrowski reminds me of Brock Glover back in the early 80s, late 70s. He had the kind of power, the kind of stamina, the golden boy of motocross and supercross. I think Kudrowski maybe is a little bit in that image.
All that talent in a Ferrari, too. Isn't that annoying?
Yeah, and a house on the beach in Dana Point. These guys may be young, but a lot of them sit around talking about stocks, bonds, and brokers between supercross events. They know their career will be short. They got to be careful and manage their money properly. I'll tell you right now, though, Mike Kudrowski getting huge boosts from the grandstands here at Daytona. They want to see him pull it off.
He is about to become only the second rider, along with Bob Hurricane Hanna, to have 3 wins here at Daytona. The only rider with more than that, just him, the Duke of Daytona with 4.
It's over. Kudrowski is going to win the Daytona 200. Watch the style. Whoa, just got those hands back on the bars in time. Now he'll pop a few wheelies and roll into victory lane.
Meantime, Jeremy McGrath soldiers on. He'll have to wait for next year. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Daytona, where a great racetrack has served up some sensational AMA professional supercross racing. Let's have a look at the top 10. Kawasaki's a sweep in the first and second position. The best Honda finish by Doug Henry. Mike Craig rounded out the top 10. Let's go to Ralph. He's with the winner. One happy guy.
You know, you talk about just riding the track. I mean, are you really that patient? Even with those guys out in front, did you not even think about them?
Yeah, you know, you worry about them or you look at them, you're going to ride like them, and you're going to make the same mistakes as them and everything. So I think that's what I've been doing a lot this year, and now I'm concentrating on, you know, what I want to do. You know, I'm fast enough. I've won a lot of championships. If I ride like I want, I can win like this.
That's 3 for you. Stanton had 4. I bet you can't wait for next year.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to keep trying, and hopefully I can win 5. You know, I prepare really good for this race every year, and I'm going to stick going to the tracks and everything, the same ones I've been doing, eating the same stuff.
For the 3rd year in a row, Mike Kudrowski is the winner of the Daytona Supercross.
He's fast enough, he's strong enough, and darn people like him. All right, here's the second 10. Phil Lawrence finished 11th on the Kawasaki. All in all, a good day for virtually all of the factories. Pretty evenly split in the top 20. Ralph?
Jeremy, obviously the first question is, what happened on that step-up jump?
Well, I come in the corner second, right behind, well, actually beside Dowd, and it's such a sharp curve, like going up it. He hit the curve and endoed sideways into me, and nothing I could do. And then guys were just ramming me from the back, and so I don't know what happened.
Then once you got going, you made a pretty good ride back up through the field. Are you pleased with this year's Daytona performance?
No, not really, because, you know, it's a shame that I had to fall down. I think I was more ready this year than any other year, and I'll come back next year the same way. You know, this thing, I want to win still, don't worry.
Steve, I don't think it's a question of if Jeremy McGrath will win the Daytona Supercross. I think it's a question of when.
Can I get a bet down now for next year? All in all, you come away from Daytona feeling these are some of America's finest athletes. A promotional consideration has been provided for and a fee paid by this special offer.